it's crazy too that like the main arena for this sport is in like Iowa or Kansas or Nebraska or something, and then you have all these people flying into O'Hare, renting cars and going to I don't know. It's quite amusing.
What's going on, everybody? My name is JP, and I want to welcome you here to the Stable Cyclist Podcast, where we talk about bikes, life mentality, and when the occasion arises, of course, we will deep dive into mental health. It has been a wild month of August and September, and my life really goes back into normal drive. As I said in the update the other day, I'm teaching again, and we are in the middle of a very good soccer season right now, which means most of my time is devoted to that, which is why some of the content on the channel and on the podcast especially has slowed down. But I did tell you we were going to be going to an every other week format, and I did also mention that I had a very special guest on tap for you this week. Of course, the Stable Cyclist Podcast is brought to you by Flow Formulas. If you have a big race coming up or you are just training to stay healthy, you want Flow Formulas mix in your bottles, and you want their recovery mix in your recovery bottle. And if you do chews, they have amazing chews, and if you like gels, you can even make your own gels with their products. So many things, as well as electrolytes and all the goodies that you can think of from a good nutrition company. And when you go to check out at flowformulas.com, you can use the code JohnPeter15, and that will give you a little discount on your basket full of goodies. Now, this very exciting guest I have been teasing for a little while is in fact the Holy Spirit of Gravel, or maybe I should say the account holder of the Holy Spirit of Gravel meme account on Instagram. And as I have gotten to know her over the past 6 to 8 months, she is an incredible human. She has incredible knowledge of the sport of gravel racing and is a gravel racer herself. And we're going to dig into all of that as we go through. All right, enough of all that. Let's get the Holy Spirit of Gravel into the studio. Well, we don't call each other by these names. We use our real names usually, but we're going to call each other by the Stable Cyclist and Holy Spirit of Gravel today. And Holy Spirit of Gravel, welcome to the show. We've been talking about doing this for a long time. You even teased it on your own show, so welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. You make it sound difficult. You make me sound difficult when you say that, like we've been trying for a while. You know, like you make me sound like a bit of a diva or something like that. No. But we've just had crazy schedules.
Yeah, 100%. And the public should know that I have canceled just as much as we haven't been able to get the calendar to work. So, yeah, it's good to have you here. I think there's all kinds of places we could go with telling your story. And maybe it starts with the bike, or maybe it starts with your account itself that you run. And so I'm going to kind of leave it up to you where you want to start this. And then I'm just going to come in with questions and interrupt you as we go. So.
Oh, this is a cycling podcast? I thought this was a mental illness podcast. I didn't realize I actually had to talk about bicycles.
Yeah. Somehow Apple labels it only as a mental health podcast, and I'm like, I don't know how to change it at this point, but yeah, here we go.
Nothing's been worse for my mental health than riding bikes, by the way. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I learned how to ride when I was like 7 years old. How old are kids when they learn how to ride bikes? And then I just kept riding bikes. I don't come from a world that saw it as anything serious, so it's not like I wasn't in any NICA league or anything. I wasn't, going to like junior cross nats or anything like that. So, I was just like a fixie dirtbag as a teenager and in my early 20s. And then I wanted a real bicycle, and then that's how I found gravel. Was because I wanted a bicycle that was more functional than a road bike or a mountain bike. So utilitarian purposes. And then through my bicycle, I found races, and that led me to here. I'm like terminally online, like meme brain rot. That's like already how I exist. So it just made sense that after a certain point, I saw no one was really doing it. And the guy I do my podcast with, he was like, yeah, dude, just like make a bunch of memes and then start posting them, and like it'll be funny to see like if it ever gains traction. And it did. It is funny going back and looking at, I was trying to find one I had made, and I was scrolling to the bottom looking for it. I don't actually have that many posts online on my meme account, and I couldn't find it, but I was looking at some of the early ones, and they're so different from what I posted. Like I mean, it's so like I've gotten so niche and so weird, and like now I know I was posting like classic like 2022, 2023 gravel. I'm like posting about Pete Stetna getting mad at people because they like didn't stop at an aid station, and
Sure.
It's just like how far have we come to like what we're joking about now of like making like a horoscope or whatever of all the birthdays of privateers, which if for your listeners, if they don't know what we're talking about, my meme account, one of my recent posts, I just put all these privateers' birthdays, and it was like, or not their birthdays, I just randomly put them on months, and it was like, oh, this is your horoscope, your birth month is your privateer. And then I got all these privateers messaging me saying that's not my birth month, and I'm like, yeah, that's not the point.
Everything about this account is a joke, and
yeah,
people
pretty much
seem to forget that.
It's a joke, but I think also I've come to realize now through some opportunities I've been given and some stuff that's in the pipeline that I don't know, like not to gas myself up, but people like see a value in it, like culturally. I mean, it's so new and niche in like the grand scheme of things. I mean, the fact that like people I've joked about are now like my friends. I don't know, like my, like certainly friendly and like acquaintances and like people I talk to. So I think, I don't know, I'm super excited to see like where it's going to go. And like I do actually really enjoy this sport. Like I do it, like only this year I've started going out of state for races, but I've been doing it since like 2021, like local races in Texas where I live. So it's like I'm not just sitting here on my couch like making fun of this sport. I do really, really like it and participate in it and like spend money, regrettably sometimes, on it, but it is what it is. I don't have I don't have a bike that fits mountain bike tires yet, but we'll get there at some point.
That's when you'll know you've fallen in too far, as you're putting 2.4s on your gravel bike. So I want to know, like, when we're talking about early on you're starting to make these observations, and where do these original memes land? Do they land on an account called the Holy Spirit of Gravel, or does the name come later? And kind of talk us through, because for people that are maybe not super familiar, we're talking about an Instagram account literally called the Holy Spirit of Gravel, and all it is memes and jokes about gravel racing. And so I want to know, like, the evolution beyond just, hey, my homie said I should make some memes and they took off. Like, where are these landing initially? And then initially, how did you feel as they're getting received and moved around and passed around?
I was making jokes and just sending them to my friend, a couple of people, and then I had made a bunch actually. And then when it came to pick out a name, that's when the whole like Spirit of Gravel discourse was like probably like just beginning, and so it just like Holy Spirit of Gravel just like came about, like obviously. By religious leanings notwithstanding or whatever, but and then I was just tagging people in them. Like I can't stress this enough, like I didn't know anyone going into this. Like people for the longest time thought I was either A, a privateer, or B, someone with a brand or some sort of insider. Like I didn't know anyone. I was a fan of the sport at the pro level, but like very, very, like it's not really what it is like now, but I did know a lot, but I didn't like know anyone. I wasn't connected in any way. So I was putting them out there and tagging people and just like seeing where they would go using hashtags. Like I'm not even like, I don't even know how stuff spreads, and like I wasn't studying the algorithm. I wasn't like Mr. Beasting it or something, like trying to see what lands.
Yeah.
I just was posting and then slowly gained steam. And then I would say earlier this, or maybe last year, I was posting a lot about Unbound and like tagging people. That's when I started realizing pros were following me and brands were following me and industry people were following me, which I thought was cool. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I was like pretty gassed up about that. I was like, oh, sick. Like, oh, sick, Pete Stetno follows me. Or like, you know, I don't know, like, oh, sick, LDC follows this account. Like, I thought that was cool. And then it really kicked off once I started, truthfully, like once I started like kind of not making fun, but was just like started treating it more as kind of like, I'm not a journalist and I'm not gonna call myself that, but I started treating stuff as like news items and like posting about stuff that had just happened, not just jokes about like, oh, like a joke about a feed zone, but like actually posting results from races and posting, you know, like commenting on stuff that had just happened the weekend prior or something like that, because there really isn't too many spaces to keep up with this stuff. Like, you know, there'll be articles on like Velo News or Cycling Tip or like these mainstream sites where they usually get a lot of stuff wrong, or like they don't know the language necessarily. There are some like writers that do and are in the culture, but I just think it's just so small and so new. I mean, it's growing so quickly, but there just wasn't much going on. So that's why like my account kind of blew up the way it did. There are a lot of other cycling meme accounts out there, and some of those I followed before I made mine. But I'll be honest, I think I think they were funny. Maybe my sense of humor has changed. They're just like not funny to me anymore. Like and like, not to get like in the weeds of like how one makes memes. Like you really just have to be like kind of insane and like on your phone too much, and like it's not like a healthy thing to do. It's like, so don't aspire to be like me or anything like that. But I just think that the way people were talking about cycling using internet language and internet subculture and memes and all that was just so it was becoming super lame to me, and I think it's like getting worse, and just like the same dumb templates and like the same dumb like, oh, you ride gravel, you have like a mustache and you wear flannel and like whatever. And I was like, you don't have a mustache, but you're wearing flannel right now. But
right.
but like to me there was like no value in it. So I just wanted to get deeper. And then as I started talking more about pros, because that scene is growing and I'm genuinely interested in that stuff. Like I'm genuinely interested in pro sports. So when my sport that I do has a pro scene, like I'm going to get really into that. And so it just made sense for me to start talking about that. And yeah, that was another like spike, start talking about the pro stuff and getting their attention, which like wasn't my intention, was to start being like, oh yeah, but there's like not that many people talking about like, you know, Rebecca's private Idaho in 2023 right. or something. And like I made a post about it because it was something that had happened, and like, you know, and like, but I think at the end of the day, it all goes back to me for the sport being small and just like having unique voices in it, and like that resonates with people who want, like, whether it's humor or attention or whatever. Like I'm gonna keep doing it, but that's why it took off. Like it didn't take off because I'm like some sort of genius or something. I think it was the right place, right time is like how I feel about it.
100%. Yeah, I want to talk about how you said the brand started to follow you and the riders started to follow you. And I know, because it's the same audience I have that's 90% male, I know what every single person, including myself, thought is, this is some weird dude.
Weird dude that probably doesn't ride bikes, wears sweatpants a lot.
Yes. And
probably like sweaty all the time. Yeah, I know. That's what everyone thought.
Yeah.
Actually, people thought it was like 3 dudes.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah. And
yeah.
then I,
Yeah, girls get online too. Let me be clear. I do look at the stats for like for my stuff. Like now, I never used to look at it before, but with like the podcast and with my account, like you can do that view insights thing on Instagram, which I never looked at that before kind of recently. And it's like 88% male.
yeah. Well, I remember,
Which is funny because, yeah, go on.
no, I remember whenever we connected, I don't remember at what point you followed me or why, but I was really stoked that you had followed my account. And then we started chatting about the time that your podcast came out. And you were like, surprise, I am a female, or I am of the female species. There are dozens of us. And like, I thought that was the funniest way to describe it. And I've told a few other females in the sport that statement, and they die laughing. That's kind of how it feels. But at the same time, Chase Wark told me a story. Yeah. I don't remember if he was at Valley of Tears, maybe, or somewhere where you were, and he was riding by.
I don't actually know that man. Don't. I'm just kidding.
And he rode by, and you said the Holy Spirit of gravel says hello, and he said he almost crashed his bike because he was like, that was a girl that just said that to me. So at what point were you starting to be like, I kind of want to reveal the face and that there's a personality behind this account? I'm not just some like nerd sitting in my basement making these, but I'm a real person and I actually know the sport and I actually do the sport. So what was the like reveal process with that?
Well, girls sit in basements too and be on the internet all day. No, so it's a good question because for the longest time I thought I never would, because I'm aware how like weird it can get being like a female on the internet.
Sure.
And like having
100%.
a following or something. Like I know how weird it can get. I had also no need to. It's not like I felt like I would gain anything from like putting my face out there. But I think it was at Valley of Tears and there was just so many pros going. Like I had actually doxed myself to people before at like Gravel Locos. The pros that go there, I've like went up to Dylan Johnson or Adam Roberge and I was like, oh yeah, I'm the one that made like a joke about you. But I also wasn't like posting, selfies of myself or wasn't intending to make any like content with myself. It was more of just like being friendly kind of is why I said it. So I had like doxed myself here and there, but I think just the opportunity, like I got more into the idea of like podcasting or making videos or doing some more content-y stuff, for like lack of a better term, other than just like making memes. But and I thought I was like, okay, if it gets weird, I'll just retreat back to the shadows. And like surprisingly, it never did. Considering the audience, according to Instagram metrics, is like overwhelmingly male. I've never once gotten anything weird from anyone about it. Like genuinely, like not once. For that, I'm kind of amazed because I thought something weird would come out. Like a lot of guys online or like other women too, I don't know, but like a lot of people don't like when girls like try to be anything other than, like like anything other than just like feast for their eyes kind of thing.
No, it's I mean, I'm always interested in questions about identity and like how we find our identity, and that's why I'd really the podcast was starting to come out around that time. And then I knew at Unbound you were probably going to be more in front of the camera rather than behind it. And ironically, your parents were with, and your mom was like full reporter mode with you when I would see you. But it's just, you've kind of, at Unbound, you made a connection. And I always talk about, this is all about relationships and getting to know people and having the right relationships in the industry. You did a podcast with Amanda Naman Sheik, at Unbound. And by the time we get to August, you and her are co-commentating one of the bigger races that's not in the Grand Prix. And again, I want to kind of like walk through that evolution of you go from not being like out in front of the camera at all to like, hey, I'm going to take you on a journey. And I will say for people listening to this, we're recording this the same day as Schwamigan, and you guys, or you ladies, coverage at Core 4 was 1,000 times better than the tripe I had to try and follow today at Schwamigan to know what was going on there.
Yeah, so that whole journey's crazy, even for me, because Amanda's podcast and the work she's doing in the sport is like one of the first things I kind of latched onto. And I listened to like almost all her episodes and stuff of her podcast, and that's how I learned so much to be able to like make these jokes.
Yeah.
And then at some point, and I'd like talk to her online a little bit on the account, and then when she reached out, when she found out that I was female and she reached out and wanted to do something, I was like, whoa, I used to listen to this podcast and now I'm like gonna be on it. Like, that's so sick. And then, and then Core 4 reaching out, I don't know what was going through their heads. I mean, in my mind, it's like, this is like, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it like paid off for them, but it's, I mean, I don't know. To me, I'm like, they took a chance because it could have like gone wrong for their brand. Like, I could have been like some complete weirdo. I mean, I guess like Amanda vouched for me, but sure. I don't even know like how this has happened. I still attribute it to just the sport being small and me knowing more than I think people realize I do. Like, it wasn't hard for me to commentate, and I wasn't intimidated, because I've watched all this stuff and I know what I would like to see. And then B, I know who all these people are because I do follow this sport quite intensely to be able to make the jokes I do. But I don't know, it feels like natural in a way, but it also is like quite crazy that like this is just manifested out of like, I'm literally some random person. Like, I cannot stress that enough. I'm literally some random person that had like really no authority, but like people find me funny and like, you know, think it would be funny to have me like, have the meme account out there talking about it. And it worked out, and like I had an incredible time, and it was like getting to see, like, I just never thought I'd be in a position, well, of all the things I've done, like a lot of those women I had met or talked to quite a bit online, or like at Unbound met them in person. So that had already happened, and I'd already like familiarized myself with them a bit, and them with me, but I just never thought I'd be able to see the sport so up close and see like the best of the best in my sport up close. And to me, that was like a real privilege to be able to see like Rosa and G, like broken, like they broke away and it's just the two of them and they're just like grinding in these cornfields. And I was like, wow, I'm like really seeing this stuff in person that like it's really actually hard to see, you know, that stuff. And so I'm like, wow, what a privilege. Like, these are the best in the world in my sport that are currently doing it, and, you know, like figureheads in the sport. So as much as like, you know, whatever it was that I brought to it, like it was a privilege, and like I'm so grateful I got to do that just for my own like gratification of seeing it in person.
Yeah, and I think for me that's what's interesting about kind of the similarities of both of our stories is we're these fan millennials who have turned a hobby and our fandom into something a whole lot more. And I had very similar feelings filming at the front of Unbound and at Gravel Worlds this year, being around all these people that I've followed for years and getting to do it in such a close way. And having a lot of them know who I am was just very surreal. And a lot of like, I can't believe I'm here doing this. I want to talk more about your Unbound week, because I think that was, you had been to Gravel Locos, you had been to some other races where you have been around the pros, but I feel like if I'm paying attention well enough, that was your first time of really getting to interact with a lot of people, and kind of at what point, or maybe you still don't feel like it, but at what point have you felt like I kind of belong here with what I'm doing? You know, I am not necessarily a racer, but with what I'm doing actually offers value, and I'm seen by these people at the very least.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that it was at Unbound, because that is the first time like I met a lot of people in person, and a lot of, even for them, it was like, oh wow, you are a girl or something, like as if I might have been like lying or something like that. And especially I think what was cool was that I was like actually doing the race. Like I was like at Core 4, I didn't take my bike or anything. Like I wasn't,
Sure.
I didn't ride a bike at any point that weekend that I was there. But because I was also there riding and all that, it's like, oh yeah, I am a real person. I am like fit or something, like I am capable of doing this, and like I do it. But I think definitely like going into at Core 4 and having like a job to do there, and then like before and after hanging out with them and just like on a social level, but also like talking about stuff in the sport I've been curious about, or stuff that helps give me more context to like do my job there. And yeah, and like there's stuff that pros have reached out to me since Unbound and wanted me to talk about in the sport. Some stuff I have, some stuff I haven't, just because some of the stuff is maybe a bit serious that like I don't really want to touch, and I was like, that maybe should be handled by like a real journalist or something.
Sure.
But I think like, or even me being like, I'm literally just some random person, and then like very gracious pros will be like, no, you're like a real thing. Like we all share your stuff, and we all like, we think it's so cool. I think for me, like on a personal level, the female validation I've gotten through this sport, like I've been someone that I think like I've always probably wanted more female friendship than like I've had in my life, and the sport has given me that. And like, yeah, just like people thinking like, oh yeah, it's a girl that does this, and then being able to sort of like enmesh with them a bit. And also like I get told stuff that like I'm not gonna say, like I'm not gonna make a meme about, or I'm not gonna like say on the podcast, but I think people like vent to me or something.
Sure.
Because I think they do realize I know so much about the sport and can like contextualize what they're saying. But it was cool. One of the things some of the women there at Core 4 were saying to me that was cool was after the race, when I was showing them the footage I got on my phone, like stuff I wasn't able to post, or stuff like I took on my GoPro or something that like I couldn't upload. And I was just showing it to them, and they're like, a couple of them told me in like different ways, but they were like, oh, it was so cool seeing someone like we know in the side-by-side, or like out there following us, because usually it's just some random dude or something, and like we have no idea, and they're just like in our face with a camera. But it was like seeing someone familiar and seeing someone that like we know respects us, I guess. And so like, yeah, I was like, oh, that was like one of the more like validating things I've like heard in this entire, journey. So that was cool. And like I wasn't really expecting that from them, but yeah, that was really cool to hear.
Yeah, you mentioned that like it's at times been a struggle to have female friends in this sport. And one of the things I just wanted to ask you is like, who is inspiring you in all of this, whether it's directly a cyclist or somebody else, but who are those people that you have that you lean on and that have pushed you or inspired you to be like something better at whatever you're doing?
I mean, I'm just like a huge fangirl of a lot of these women. And so like, it's like honestly, it's just like having, like being able to connect with especially like the Europeans, because even though we all do the same thing, I do think there is, and I don't think it's anything like huge or serious, I do think there is a bit of like a culture gap there. Like it can be inconsequential, but it does exist. So getting to connect with the Europeans and just like knowing they know who I am, and then like being able to have them on my podcast, which is nothing serious, it's completely for fun, but like that's really cool and makes me want to keep doing it. Like it's funny because, well, Amanda's someone too, and having the validation from her and like her vouching for me and someone that I respect and got information from, you know, and like used her work to do what I do. And then her being like, yeah, like I think you should come to this. I think you should do it. And like her treating me as an equal in this space where I've like never done anything like that before. But it's funny because as a kid, when I was younger, the two things I was really into were like comedy and sports. And it was more of like a fantasy. Like I never thought I'd be a comedian and I never thought I'd be like a professional athlete. But it was just like what we did as a family, like my extended family, like every weekend we would just watch games together, like whatever it was, basketball,
Sure.
football, baseball, soccer, like whatever, tennis was like really big. And then you'd be like, oh man, it'd be so cool to be an athlete or to be a commentator or be like a sports journalist or like an agent or something. But like, it's not something I ever thought I would do or like tried to do. It was just cool. And then when I was younger, like watching like Tina Fey or Amy Poehler, like their sitcoms and stuff, like Larry David, stuff like that, I watched a lot as a kid. And it was like, oh man, it'd be so cool to be funny. Like to be able to be a comedy writer. Again, it's not something I ever pursued,
Right.
but it's just like, this would be cool. And then so now being able to like, it's funny because this didn't even occur to me, but my cousin, one of my cousins, I have a lot of cousins, but one of them who's also a big cyclist, I send him all my stuff and he's more of a roadie. Like he doesn't do gravel and he lives in a different city, but I send him all my stuff and he was just like, somehow this is like what you were meant to be doing. And like I didn't even like realize that or like plan on it or anything, because like I have a job and like a life and everything. And like most of my friends do not ride bikes. I'm not like super integrated locally in my cycling community, not because for any particular reason, I just like do other things, but or like when it comes to bikes, I'm usually riding by myself with a couple friends or doing gravel, but I'm not like a huge big group ride roadie person. That's just like not my interest. But so it's just all like somehow this is what I was like meant to do or something. Like I mean, it's still like hobby level, believe me. I've gotten some like swag hookup stuff and like an opportunity to go to Iowa and all that, and there's probably going to be more of that in the future, like just teasing, I guess. Like there's going to be more stuff like that going on. And other different opportunities, but it's not at a level where like I'm supporting a family doing this or something like that. It's still a hobby, but I just think like all my interests did accidentally converge, like weird sense of humor, sports. Like the reason you saw my mom being like a reporter was because like her background is in media. So that's like her natural space is to do that. She's retired now, but she has a lot of experience, and I'm not going to blow up her spot, but she has a background in like news media. So maybe like a bit of that kind of accidentally like filtered in, or just having that mentality of like what is like a news piece or talking about it. I mean, even, and then like, I mean, what you do, I think like we were just watching your Gravel Worlds episode that you did, and we were just like, my friend and I were just like, wow, this footage is sick. And like, no disrespect to like any other life or, you know, the Gravel Worlds media team or like Lifetime or whatever, but I was like, this is like the sickest footage like I've seen. Like I also think like people, you know, like your service to the sport or something, like I just don't think this sport, like now that I get more into it, I don't think the sport is serviced by traditional media coverage. I don't think it makes sense for this sport. You can do the 8-hour live stream of Unbound, and I think it's cool. I'm glad it exists 100%, 1,000%. But also, I don't think it necessarily highlights what's cool about it, which is like all the weird idiosyncrasies and like standing on the side of the road with a single camera or a drone and filming just people falling over in the mud does more service to this sport than an 8-hour live stream of following Keegan around and from a helicopter with no context, I think is a big problem with these live streams. Is like
Right.
No one has any idea how far ahead, how far behind anyone is. When I was at Core 4, like the big thing I wanted to do that was like, I wanted to stop a bunch because I wanted to get like what it felt like to be standing still and then what happens when it passes by. Like I didn't think just to be following around whoever is in first place the entire time was like boring to me.
Yeah.
And doesn't provide any, and that's how I got like the cool shots of them like in the mud, of Axel like running into the road. It's like I think stopping and like getting the surroundings, I think is like where this sport and like the media is at its best. And like yeah, your footage from Gravel Worlds was cool. And yeah, I don't know. Do your high school students, do they know what you do? Do they like pull up your clips? Do your soccer students, are your soccer the young athletes you coach? Are they like, when are you going to do our docu-series?
The soccer players know I do it because we had a docu-series back in 2020.
Okay.
And it's 7 episodes long, and it was like it was shot by high schoolers on iPhones and with like a really low-key drone. So it's the story's there, but if people show up for like great stunning visuals, it's not.
But sometimes that's what is cool. Like
100%.
Everything I've gotten that's ever resonated with people has been on my phone. Yeah. I have some cool GoPro stuff, but having the phone makes everything so much more like malleable, I guess. Like I can zoom and I can like move my hand, like there's nothing else I'm worrying about. It's just a phone. And I think the imagery and like getting good sound matters, I think, more than having a chopper. Well, having the chopper is cool for sure. Like, you know, in Iowa they had a chopper, but like I think having a perspective and being on the ground, it's like you're never gonna have crowds of people lining like random ass roads in the Midwest. Like that's never gonna happen. So I think the sport is serviced mostly by creatives putting their own take on it and having the athletes themselves interact with it.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, who knows? The sport is changing like by the minute. So like, who knows? But like, I like seeing other people do weird things. And I was like, man, I know that there's all these different subcultures, especially when you bring the internet into it, of just weird senses of humor and interesting music and interesting visuals. And like people want to feel like their interests are represented. So just having something that's like not the norm, I feel, which is just your traditional, like something you'd see on ESPN or something, but like having something a little more interesting than that, I think like services everyone more and like services the sport.
100%. You mentioned earlier that you have a good connection with a lot of the Euro riders. And when I heard that, my mind goes to conversations we have had. When you jumped on today, you liked my Liverpool hat. You've actually been to Anfield. You've been to Europe. Do you feel some of that connection is just like an understanding of what life is like there? Or is it just knowing how to listen to people, or a combination?
A combination. I think being a good listener and like letting people say their piece is like a good part of like why people want to keep talking to you. But yeah, I have just like my background, nothing to do with cycling. Like I've traveled a lot. That's just something, once I graduated from college, I just wanted to get out of Texas, where I've lived my whole life. And nothing to do, it was like no real rhyme. There's no greater meaning behind it. I just like had saved up a bunch of money, and like I work really hard, and wouldn't take any days off, and work straight for like a year, just do like all kinds of overtime, take shifts from people, and like whatever job I was doing, and then I would just go travel abroad. And sometimes I was essentially like living abroad, like couch surfing type, like slumping. When I was younger, we called it like slumping. I don't know where that comes from, but I just like slump life on people's couches, and like, but with all this money I had saved up, and I would just like live in England for like months, or I'd be backpacking in Asia for months, like Southeast Asia and then East Asia. And then I was in London, and I was in London for stretches of time. And then I'd go into Europe. So like, I can say like, you know, I've never been to Girona yet. I'll go to Girona next year, but I have an understand, like I'm not a small-minded American or something that doesn't have, like, that has blinders on and only knows, you know, like where I come from isn't like a super cosmopolitan place, but like I have seen a lot through my travels and adventures, which a lot of it has been by myself. Not all of it, but I've done a lot by myself. And so I do think just having that perspective, just like, and I don't even tell, a lot of times it doesn't come up that like it's not like I'm talking to someone from Spain and I'm like, oh yeah, I've had paella in Madrid or something like that. Like that's not how I talk about this. But I do think that like having perspective and like not just being like, oh, like you can speak English even though you're German or something like that.
Right.
Like it, yeah, I do think it definitely helps. But I don't think in like a specific way. I think it just makes you a little bit more, like it is a privilege I've been able to do it, but I do think it makes you a little more well-rounded and like shows that like the things that you think are serious or that matter isn't necessarily for everyone else. It's just like, it's crazy too that like the main arena for this sport is in like Iowa or Kansas or Nebraska or something, and then you have all these people flying into O'Hare, renting cars and going to, I don't know. It's like it's quite amusing.
100%. So what's next for you as far as like, this has been a huge year, even a huge 6 months of growth. I know for me personally, I'm in that phase right now of I am having a lot of conversations with a lot of different people about what next year may look like in this scene for me. And I can assume that that's for you too, because you've done some pretty big things this year as well. So what does it look like for you right now as you prep for next year? And I know that some of it you probably can't even talk about because I'm in the same boat. So
I just say I can't talk about it because it makes it look more important than it is. But I can, but I'm just choosing not to.
Sure.
Saying, you know, but like, I don't know, man. I got to get a bike. I got to use my influence. I need a new bike. So if there's any brands out there that want to, I'm shopping around and I'm like, well, which one do I want actually? And then I'm going to send that DM on Instagram and it's like, hey, I'll make some cheeky video. Now give me that frame. Yeah. No, I like, honestly, there's like certain people, I think much kind of, I guess, you know, not unlike what you're doing, but I think there's like stories out there that can be serviced by like a different kind of perspective and like highlighting, like I wish there was more stuff from the women, like more docu-series type stuff, more insight into what they do, not because I think it has more value inherently than a man's story, but I just don't see enough of it. And so like I want to see some of that. So like I've been talking to some people about stuff I can do with that. And then just like I said, like I come from, have always wanted to travel. So like if it can take me places, you know, like get me a flight and get me some like walking around cash, and then I can go, you know, whether it's Iowa, Nebraska, Minnesota, or it's like Italy or Spain or wherever, like I'm happy to do that. Like everywhere I've gone this year, well, not every, like Kansas and Iowa, I'd never been to those states before, never even been through them. Yeah. So that was cool. And like I was also in Mexico, which was, I'd been to Mexico and I'd been to that part of Mexico before because that's where my family was from, where Gravel Mexico happened. But even just like that was a whole journey and a whole exploration, and like, that was a whole other crazy experience. That wasn't like anything like Unbound or like anything else, but just getting to do more experiences. have any intention of like trying to be some kind of like lifestyle influencer or anything like that. Like people have reached out to me for that kind of perspective. Like I'm not trying to make myself the main character in any of this.
Sure.
But I do want a bike and some more kit. So I'll navigate that as it comes.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like,
As you should.
If I can get one of those cool. Yeah, if I can get one of those cool bikes that where I can get the rear derailleur, that like the UDH, that would be a cool flex on on all the kids in my neighborhood, you know, being able to ride around with that. Totally undeserved for my speed and skill, but if I can get one of those UDH rear derailleurs, like, you know, one of the ones that just snaps on, like I'll go for a bike and then one of those. And the shifters can be apex shifters. I don't care. I just want that rear derailleur, and I want the bike that can fit the wide tires.
For sure. One more question before we get into our rapid fire section. You said there, like, you don't want to be a lifestyle influencer, but you definitely are an influencer at this point, as am I.
Meme influencer.
Okay, all right. Was there a moment that you realized that you had become that? Because I know exactly where I was and what I was doing when I realized that that's who I had become. And I don't know that I was super comfortable with it.
So when I started seeing like people using my like phrases, I guess for lack of a better term, like these, like I didn't invent the word normie. Like I know
Sure.
I didn't invent using the word coded as like a suffix for, like, I didn't come up with this stuff. This is all like internet culture, but like me applying it and saying like gravel dads, normie coded, hitter coded, like I'm even now like I'm calling like Leadville and Schwamigan like extreme gravel races, and I'm just gonna spam that for a while to see like if people start saying it. And like the Corn Cup, calling like Core 4 and Gravel Worlds the Corn Cup. Like I'm just gonna keep spamming this stuff to see if it sticks, and then like seeing posts from people that I'm not even tagged in, but people saying like normie coded or whatever, or like stuff, or like people making like for a while I just like made jokes about flight attendant because I didn't know what it was, and like I didn't want to know what it was. I only have so much room in my brain for stuff, and so like if I learned what flight attendant was, something potentially more important would like slip out.
Sure.
So I just kept making jokes about that, and then seeing like flight attendant jokes. So like people using the lingo was definitely when I was like, okay, this is like a thing. This is like, you know, and yeah, people like, I don't know, and then people wanting me on their podcast, people being crazy enough to platform me. That definitely was like a pretty good indicator. But yeah, like you know, there's a reason too why like I don't say my name and like the specific city where I'm from and stuff like that. And it's not because it's a secret. Like when I meet in Kansas, when I was meeting people, and in Iowa when I was meeting people, and then like the bigger races here in Texas, like I introduce myself by my name. Yeah. And like, especially the races here in Texas, I'll say where I'm from and all that. I just don't think on like this level it services anything or anyone for me to just start using my name. But like, if like I'm like a normal person, I don't like go by Holy. Like when I meet people, I don't say like, oh yeah, I'm Holy. Like it is actually really funny because in Kansas, when I was like doxing myself to pros and stuff who I'd talk to online, and when I just walk up to them, I'm just some random person, but I was like, oh, by the way, I'm the meme account, which is always like a funny thing to say. They're like, oh, and it's like, who says these sentences like in real life? Like, oh, by the way, I'm the meme account. Like, it's like a completely insane sentence to ever have to say. But yeah, I mean, when I don't know, like I don't know that I've even fully realized it. Like opportunities coming in, and then like when there's money involved, I guess like that is a thing. But when was your moment?
I'm embarrassed about all parts of this story, because it starts with the fact that I was listening to Logan Paul's Impulsive podcast. And I'm a little embarrassed to say that out loud, but
Yeah, I would be too.
yeah, so that's where it starts. And he was upset in the podcast because his co-host kept calling him an influencer, and they like spelled out what an influencer is, and it was like somebody who's, like you said, getting stuff from brands and money from brands at points, and his online presence, and like every box they said I checked as well, and I like wanted to pull my truck over and just like vomit, because I was like, oh no, this is not what I wanted to be, but it's what I've become, and I'll embrace it, I guess. So
Yeah, when I saw that someone sent me a comment on I guess it was like a Leadville post, not like someone else's Leadville, like some other brands or privateers like Leadville post, and then Trek, like the Trek Bikes account, put "that's so gravel coated," and I was like, "Where's my checkpoint?
Yep.
Where's my
well, I do have
mountain bike that I can put grapplers on?"
I do have to say that listening to your show, listening to your podcast, you do need like a vocabulary decoder if you're not real up on the terms. And I think
so many people ask me for that, and it makes me, the more people ask, the more it makes me want to do it less, to be honest. But
yeah, you just need a poster or something.
Yeah, I just think like in my mind, the meme, like the meta meme, is like, I'm just gonna do this till like I'm not gonna explain anything and just see like what catches on and what doesn't or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I also don't know what I'm doing, so I'm just doing it. And like, I don't know, maybe I get canceled at some point. You never know, that could happen. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I just remember at some point we were talking back to Liverpool about how I have Steven Gerrard tattooed on my arm, and you just wrote back, "That's so based," and I had to go like look up what that even meant, because I was like, I know I'm a millennial and I should know this, but this is Holy Spirit of Gravel terminology I'm not familiar with, so good.
It's just mentally ill, like internet speak. Like, you don't actually need to know what I'm saying. Like, another thing that doesn't necessarily serve anyone in the long run. Like, it doesn't make you faster.
No,
but,
obviously.
it does maybe like enrich your life a bit or something. I don't know, but
it brings joy, and that's an important part of sports too. So, all right, we're gonna go through. We got some rapid fire questions here. The first one, an important one. If you and I go on a gravel ride on our nice gravel bikes with mountain bike tires on them in the future, we're gonna have to stop at a gas station at some point, and I want to know what you're getting at this gas station for food and drink to sustain the rest of the ride.
Dude, I'm just going to go to the bathroom and just sit on the toilet and just be on my phone. Like, I'm not, that's all. And maybe some water, maybe some peanuts or something. Like, I don't know. I'm not a big gas station head, to be honest. Like, it's just not, truthfully, like where I ride, there's like never, it's always off like the interstates and main roads, so there's never gas stations.
Sure.
And like, I don't know, like a piece of bread or something. Like, it's not like something, like I don't do a bunch of gas station stops, to be honest. And then like, I don't like stopping. And I don't mean that as a flex. I just like don't ever really stop. But like Haribo, I guess, like if I want to like impress if there's like a European that I want to impress, or well, Americans do it too, I don't know, but yeah, I just like water and peanuts or something, I don't know.
Okay, all right. Next one, do you have headphones in while you are riding, and do you listen to music?
No, I listen to my own podcasts, and that's I'm not joking, because so I have shocks. I've recently attained shocks. My mom got them for me for Christmas, so I have shocks now. And so a lot of my riding is on like greenbelt trails, because that's just what is suitable for me to ride in my area
Yep.
if I don't want to die.
Yep.
And so, like, if I want to ride from my house and not have to drive somewhere, I'm riding greenbelt trails, which they're not super populated or anything, but I just don't usually have stuff playing because I do like being aware of my surroundings. And I like being really judgmental when I see people riding bikes with like huge AirPod Maxes or like you do see. And I'm just like these like, so I like having the moral superiority over those people. But I do listen to my own podcast just so I can like remember what I said, because then people
Sure.
will like ask me about it or like, so I
Sure.
do actually do that sometimes. But no, I save the music for when I need it. And like I have some playlists, like for example, the best example of this is at Unbound. At the aid station halfway through, I did the 100. And so my parents were there and I grabbed my shocks from them then and just put on a playlist because I knew that'd be like the grinding section. Like from the beginning to the aid station, I was just like very stimulated by everything going on and riding in groups and all this territory, like this new experience of like Flint Hills or whatever. And I was like going way too fast. I was like for what I should have been riding and all this. So like I didn't, so like then I'll use it, but it's not something that like I ever really like do that often.
Sure.
Is like wear headphones, like the shocks sometimes with like a podcast, but then it's like windy and I don't even hear anything. So like it's not like the music thing is like, yeah, maybe at a, like if I know I'm going to be out there and grinding, but like it's not something that's super important to me, like to be honest.
Okay. Well, I do know.
Yeah, and then definitely sometimes it's convenient. Sometimes it's convenient to take like calls and stuff, like when I'm expecting a phone call maybe, and like I'll talk to friends while I'm riding. But like I don't even know if they can even really understand what I'm saying. But yeah, it's not like a big thing for me. Like listening to music, I'm not out there playing like Midwest emo or Blink-182 or like screamo or anything like that. Like I don't listen to like middle school music when I ride.
Sure. I do believe that you like to do some karaoke from time to time, though. And what song are you dialing up when you do this?
Is that how are you Midwesterners say karaoke? Karaoke?
Maybe I'm saying it wrong. I don't know. That shows how little I partake in it. So
karaoke? No, I mean I don't know. You guys have. You're from the Where do you call where you're from? The Midwest or?
Yeah.
Okay. I know there's like accents, regional accents.
100%.
Like,
yep.
Yeah. What song do I do karaoke? That's a good question. Yeah, we do karaoke when certain friends or around certain friends. Karaoke's a big thing. I don't have like let me put it to you this way, like I'm crazy, but I'm like not crazy enough to think like I can go on American Idol or something and like make it far. Like I do not, carrying a tune is like not one of my great talents. But karaoke, a lot of like say stuff like 90s music is like a big thing. Like the genre is like your like older siblings or like older cousins music. So like we'll say like No Doubt is like a big one.
Sure.
Like System of a Down or like the Cranberries or like Limp Bizkit. Just like older sibling music. Older sibling music always kills at karaoke. And then sometimes like when things are like really far gone, you'll do like a Carrie Underwood, like some like weird crazy country, like a Carrie Underwood or karaoke's a good time. They need to set up a karaoke station at these gravel races, I think.
Well, that's what I'm hearing. Is that like Thursday night of Unbound, we need to get the content creators all together, or all the cameramen and people like yourself together, and we could have a real good time singing. So
God, that sounds like a truly, like, I bet I could, like, smell that room. I don't know. I might have to actually dip if that's the... No, that, I mean, yeah, sounds fun. I mean, I have a feeling if that was a thing, it would just be like Bobby Wintle would take over and just do his own songs or something. Because
probably.
my joke with him my joke with like I've talked to him a bit on. I never actually like met him in person, but I was like, he just started Mid-South, so his band would have a place to play, right? So he could put up that big stage and his band, like he could play guitar, like jam out. That was my Bobby Winsel joke. One of a few. I have a few of them, but that's one of them.
Absolutely. Okay, very important question. Are you a fan of Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, if I had to pick, Lord of the Rings for sure, definitely not.
Okay.
I've never been a Potterhead. Yeah, I don't know. I'm glad. Like kind of all of it is called like. Well, I'm trying to think of a way to say this that won't like offend people, but there isn't one. Millennials really love their like K. That's like what it's called online, like Marvel, Harry Potter, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings.
Yep.
As a kid, it was definitely like Lord of the Rings head. Yeah, for sure. Like I still know like Mordor, Minas Tirith, Rohan. There's more. Legolas.
Yep. Did you have like a big Legolas poster in your room growing up?
Yeah, and then Legolas poster. What are the others? The Liv Tyler character, the Viggo Mortensen character. Yeah, just bringing it all back now.
All right.
Hobbits. Yeah, my Lord of the Rings knowledge did show a bit was because I was trying to think of a joke to make when like Cam Jones won Unbound, and then like he was from New Zealand, so I just made like Hobbit jokes, like when
Yeah, as you should.
So, so I get Lord of the Rings, but I mean I'm not out there like waiting in line to buy like Lord of the Rings Beanie Babies or something, and I don't say that to say that I'm cool, because also like I know what bike every rider on PA Racing rides, so like that automatically makes me like not cool for knowing that. So I'm not trying to say I'm cool. I just don't want to like LARP as like having great knowledge in either Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings. But
right. Okay. You mentioned Gravel Mexico. I think I've heard you say that that's your favorite race you've done. Maybe I'm wrong. But what is your favorite race you've done, and what's a race you have not done that you really want to go do?
So Gravel Mexico was like on another, like that wasn't even just a race. Like, not to go too into that backstory, but because I have a podcast episode about it if you want to like dig into that. But basically it was in a part of Mexico where some of my family is from, and I've been going there since I was a kid. But the route, of course, it's rural because it's a gravel race, and the route went through like villages that like my ancestors are from. Like that was crazy to me when I found out about this race. I'm like, no way. Like it blew my mind. And these are places that I hadn't necessarily been, because we'll go to like the big city where I still have family that live. But this race was going. It was like what a crazy coincidence that this niche sport is happening in these places that I've grown up hearing about, but like haven't really explored that much. And especially it was easier to do when I was younger, because things in rural Mexico, like I'm not trying to stigmatize anything, but stuff's gotten it a little bit harder to do. But not to say the race was completely like one of the safest I've ever felt, because there was so few cars on any of the roads we were riding, like almost none. And like the community was super welcoming. So like nothing to say about the safety of the race. Like everything was great about that. But that was like that doesn't even feel like a gravel race to me. That was like this whole experience, and like the friends I made at that race, like everyone is like bonded through that. It was hard. It was like beautiful. It truly was like an adventure in a way that nothing else I've done has been. I had a great time at Unbound. Like I know everyone likes to say like Unbound's so overrated or whatever. Like that was awesome. That was super cool. I mean, just like being able to activate and put like this like persona I've developed and like put it out into the world and have like such cool feedback and like have people understand what I'm doing. That made that ride cool. And like just because Unbound I've known about for years, so being able to do it was like a big deal, and it was like the first century I've ever done. But probably like the best race, like Gravel Mexico is one, and then in Texas there's a race called Rattlesnake that I always talk about, and that race is, I think, the best that gravel has to offer in terms of this space where there's pros, it's grassroots, there's community, everything intersects at like a perfect level at that race, and it's like a weekend summer camp for everyone. Like everyone just hangs out at this one park. The route is cool because you get to go on private land. Like they open up private ranch land. And I like Rattlesnake is what I always say. It's in March or April in like Central Texas. Like that, like I'm gonna be there next year. Like as long as they have it, I'm gonna be there. Like that race is the best, and like I think like it would be like pros and normies are both like serviced in their like personal experiences by going to that race. Like I think that's a race that is like a poster child for gravel races in America. I think is like it has to be that one.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for hanging out here today and gracing us with your presence.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And just so people understand, I only had 2, okay? And they're the little ones. They're the little ones.
Two is nothing compared to some of the guests I've had in the past, both in the documentaries and on the podcast. So you're good. You're
okay. Good. Okay, cool.
No, this was awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, JP.
Thanks for hanging out with the Holy Spirit of Gravel and me today. If you liked this episode, do me a favor and share it with someone who you think could benefit from it or would just enjoy it. That would be awesome. And also, if you could leave a comment on YouTube and give us a thumbs up, that really helps drive the algorithm, as well as if you are on any of the audio platforms. I know on Spotify you can leave comments, and you could always leave us a 5-star rating on both Spotify and or Apple Podcasts. Thank you as always for hanging out with me. Thank you for the support. Thank you for those of you who checked in on me when all of a sudden a couple weeks went by and an episode hadn't dropped. You are amazing, and more important than anything today, I hope you remember that you are loved.